from your memory,
Okay,
and then a little bit about the barn and some
I'll
fun.
do my best.
I know.
You're gonna do great. This is easy stuff.
Pearl, I'm ashamed of you. You're minding terrible today. Sit
Oh.
down.
Come on, sit down.
All right. Whenever you're ready, do you want to read them?
I can, or you can start, and then we can trade off. And made a list of some questions so I'd remember. But
All right.
how about to start, Bob? Why don't you just share just a little bit about what you remember about early Gerhardt, and maybe why'd your family come here?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, my grandmother traded us some property for some here, sight unseen, and we just came over here to take a look at it.
Okay. And where did she come from?
Well, we came from, at that time, from Seaside.
Oh, okay.
She was running the Mechanicum Inn over there at that time.
All right. Okay. What's your earliest memories of the town?
Earliest memories?
Yeah.
Well, I can remember getting off the train and walking up this street out here. It was this overhung with trees and just like a tunnel with a gravel road and a wooden sidewalk.
Oh, wow.
And
So-
when we got up to the ridge pathway, it was just completely covered with trees at that time.
What buildings were here then?
Oh, this building was here. Across the road there was T-Berg's mill and T-Berg's ox barn and a bunch of sheds which they used for storing wood at the time. And there was quite a few trees up the main, buildings up the main street,
Okay.
and they're all gone now.
Okay.
All the way up to where the Ocean House was at the top of the hill up there.
Was the hotel still here then?
The Gerhardt Hotel was here, the big one up there where the condos are now. And the Ocean House was up at the end of the boardwalk up here. And there was a building they called the Tea Room there halfway up that used to be a hotel that was moved in, I think, from where the City Hall is now.
Okay. Was there a store or any restaurants?
No restaurant, but there was a couple stores, couple groceries.
What's your first memory of the barn, livery stable?
Well, they used to bring in a string of saddle horses from Portland, Garden Home, in the summertime, and I kept them in here. And the whole bunch would go up on the beach for a ride twice a day with all the people from Gin Ridge. And they'd go up on the beach and ride up on the beach and come back. And then in the back here was a corral or a ring, outdoor arena, and sheds out there for extra horses. And they rode, the kids learned how to ride out there to music and records they played there. Loudspeaker, I guess.
Wow. What for people who don't know, what was Gin Ridge?
What was Gin Ridge?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they call all along the front up there on Ocean Avenue, where the big houses are, the people from Portland, well-known families, and would come down in the summertime and stay here all summer. And that was Gin Ridge. They were not natives.
Yeah. Why'd they call it Gin though? Gin Ridge.
I don't know that. Somebody just thought that name up, I guess, and it stuck.
Okay. What were the horses like? What were the horses like?
The horses that were here,
Uh-huh.
they were school horses and very nice stock. Came from the riding school and garden home there. Good animals, and they were never had any trouble. There was nothing wild about it, or anybody got hurt or anything like that. It was pretty sedate at that time. Why everybody, it was the thing amongst Gin Ridge type people to be involved with horses, like there are with golf and television nowadays.
Have horses always been a part of your life?
Yes, more or less.
How'd you get started with working with them?
Well, I had horses here and in Portland too, from grade school age on. I generally earned a little money and bought one.
How'd you get Poncho, the donkey?
How'd we get him?
Yeah.
Well, he was a baby up at the state fair years ago, and my granddaughter saw him there, and she was with me, and she went in the stall, and he climbed right up in her lap, and they said, "Well, we just got to buy him," so they did, and gave for me.
Aw.
So he was a lap dog at one point?
Pardon?
He was a lap dog at one point?
A lap donkey?
Yeah, like a lap dog. He still is if you'd let him, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Who did you work? Did you have was there a big staff out here that you worked with when you started working here?
Yeah, well, I had a job over there in for the Gerhardt Fuel Company, and I think it was 1939, they needed somebody to take the show string to State Fair, and so they hired me to go along as a groom. And I came over here. Well, I never did work here that year, but I went to the State Fair, and then I started working for them in Portland and here both after that. I was still in school, high school then.
Did you say you knew what year this place was built?
Well, I would say it's built around the turn of the century of 1900 or 1903, somewhere along in there, I think.
do you remember any of the horses' names?
Yeah, I've a few of them. Are you going to ask me to repeat them?
Well, I know a few just from when you told me. Like you had Eagle and
Eagle.
Freckles.
Yeah, Eagle, Freckles.
Wasn't there Pinky?
I'm sorry, but
Wasn't there Pinky or one was like Contender?
there was Concordia, and there was Lady Miller and Lady Lux, and Kitty Higgins, and well, that's a few of them anyway.
So Kitty Higgins.
Kitty Higgins, yeah, that Kitty Higgins was a cartoon character at that time.
Oh, that explains it. No Betty Boop or
Well, Betty Boop probably was too, but they didn't name it.
any horses in that. What was the routine like during the day to feed them and take care of them?
Well, they start in the morning here and feed them around 6:30, I suppose, and then they help go to breakfast. When they come back, they start cleaning up and currying them and cleaning the tack, the saddles and stuff, and then they'd saddle them up about 9 o'clock or so, and then go with the class on the beach. Then they'd come back and feed. And you want me to go on like that?
Yeah.
And they'd In the afternoon, at noon they'd feed them again, green, and then along about 1 o'clock they'd saddle them up again and go to the class back here or up on outside on the beach, whichever they had. And after that, they about 4 o'clock. They bring them in and put them to bed, feed them hay and stuff here.
When you weren't working, what would you do for fun in Gerhardt?
Well, we were working most of the time.
Yeah.
There wasn't much recreation here except, I suppose, you could go up on the beach. The beach was a big thing in those days. Nobody goes there anymore, I don't think, but they did then.
So clam digging and
surf surf bathing, I guess you'd call it. And,
Did you ever go on any sunset rides with the horses? Was that or did that happen later?
They may have, although I don't recall that too much.
Yeah.
Special occasions, maybe, they might have. They did that kind of rides later on after that company sold a barn out and another guy owned it. And he just had a horse rental business, and they had midnight or night rides and stuff.
Was that the Nichols Riding Academy, or was?
Well, I worked for Nichols Riding Academy. It was sold. I don't know who all owned it. The Coast Guard kept all their beach patrols here, and then after that, a fellow named John Dawson bought it, and he just had Western type rentals.
Tell us about when the Coast Guard had this and the night patrols. That was during the war,
That
right?
was during the war, yeah. I wasn't here then. I was in the war myself, so I don't know much about that.
So what'd you do during the war?
Oh, I was in the black gang in the Merchant Marine. I was an engineer and mostly ammunition carriers,
Wow.
general cargo. And I was in the South Pacific, mostly in amphibious work down there.
Which islands were you nearest, or do you remember? So you were supplying the other ships with the ammunition and other supplies.
Yeah, well, the merchant ship would come in on about D+5 on a amphibious assault and bring ammunition in. They'd carried enough to last them 5 days, and then we'd have to replenish them. I was in 2 battles there, and then I was also in almost every island in the Pacific. That's one thing about it. We got around a lot.
I bet you did.
I was at the Battle of Peleliu and the Battle of Okinawa.
One second. Stop recording and do another report. Sorry about that.
All right.
Another clap. All right, keep going.
He's actually, his degree is in this, Bob.
Yeah.
He's a pro.
Well,
He's supposed to have one of those things that
Yeah,
click.
exactly. That's it.
Looks like a
Not
little
that-
blackboard or something there.
I'm not that much of a pro.
Pearl's decided to be right in the middle of things and be
I
quiet,
know.
didn't she?
Good job, Pearl. Have you always had black labs, or was Pearl
No.
special?
She's the first black lab I ever had. I've had all kinds of dogs.
Yeah.
Before her, I had a Rottweiler, and before that, a German Shepherd.
Okay.
I have to switch cards. My card is
Oh,
full.
okay. Card full.
Card full.
She looks thinner to me. Have you got her on a diet?
No,
She
same old
She
routine.
looks good. No, she really looks good.
Yeah, I guess you've noticed that you have to speak up because I didn't have my hearing aid in.
Oh, okay.
I had it in for. Yeah.
Stay. Stay.
All right, we're going again.
So how old is Pearl now?
Pearl is 11. She and Poncho are the same age.
Okay.
I believe I got them both at the same time, or the same year anyway.
And then how old's Mackenzie?
We don't know that. Mackenzie is old. He probably, I would just guess, he's probably 20 or something like that. He came to us from Madras, or in Central Oregon, from a kid's pony ride. And when he first got here, all he wanted to do was go in circles. We had to teach him to go straight. But he's been real good since then.
Yeah, he's a good horse. He's beautiful. Have you always had Shetlands?
No.
You had other horses?
We've had
too?
Shetlands. We started with Shetlands about 1960, I guess. But before that, I had regular sized saddle horses.
Mm-hmm. So why do you think the barn, the Gearhart livery here hasn't been torn down over the years? Why do you think it's lasted when so many other livery stables haven't?
Well, the building was well built is the reason it didn't fall down. And it's really, really well built with good material and everything. And with ordinary maintenance, why it'd just about last forever. A lot better than a lot of the houses that are being built nowadays.
Yeah.
So is this place particularly special to you?
Is this place particularly special for you?
Yeah, I don't want to see it gone. It's really a nice building that I've had in my heart for a long time.
You're the only person in Gearhart that still has horses and the donkey.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? I know I loved it coming here as a kid when there were more horses.
Well, we're the only one that's carried it on forever. I started in with the Shetlands when my kids were little, and we showed them for years all over the West here. And then after they grew up and left, I always kept a couple of them here, or a few anyway, and carried the tradition on around Gearhart here. And we had them for so long. We had them long before they had zoning in this country, and we got grandfather rights.
Why do you think it's important to save the barn and maybe have it as an event center here in Gearhart?
Well, I think that it's a historical landmark and it ought to be kept. I don't think that you should tear something down and build something new unless you have to, and you don't have to here.
Right.
Especially when what they would build is probably less structurally solid than this place. Right?
Yeah, so particularly if the new buildings aren't as structurally sound as something like this.
Well, they don't use this type of architecture anymore, and it's in this type of material, and you don't see it anymore. There's a lot of modern materials and stuff, but they aren't any better, aren't as good probably. There's some beams in this building that you couldn't even buy nowadays.
No. special about Gearhart as a town?
Well, I don't know. I've just lived here for a long time and I like it here.
Great answer.
What?
I don't know which ones you have.
I don't know. I have to take a look too. I know I can't see in the dark.
Did we do that one?
No.
Who owned the barn when you started working here?
Who owned it? Well, I think that the Nickel Riding Academy owned it.
Okay.
But it had been owned by the same people, I believe, that owned the Gearhart Hotel, because they kept their horses here that originally ran their vehicle that met the trains and took them to the hotel. And then when I first came here, why they still used horses to mow the golf course, which was owned by the hotel. And they kept the horses in here. But I don't know for sure where the ownership was then. I guess it was the hotel. But the Nickel Riding Academy, they either leased it or they owned it. In those days, I was old enough to worry about something like that.
So when they mow the grass with the horses, did they pull it behind them? Like a
Mowing
cutting
machine,
machine?
yeah. Well, that's the only way they had in those days. Yeah.
The push mower would be really hard on a big.
Yeah. They finally got a 1932 Chevrolet truck and retired the horses and pulled it with that.
What about you were saying about the whatever vehicle was that met the train? What was that like? A big wagon?
It was like a stagecoach, I'd say.
Okay.
Like a stagecoach, yeah.
So what was the property like around the barn? I know there used to be a bridge there, not the culvert. So
Right.
What happened with the creek every day?
Well, there was bridges across the creek, just one at that time right here, and the tide come right up through and around the building and surround it when it was extreme high. Nowadays, it can't do that on account of the culverts there.
Did the horses walk around in the water then?
Well, you know, sometimes in the evening we used to turn them out here and let them eat grass. And several times they swam across and got onto that flat on the other side, and we'd have to go around on the bridge and get them.
They went to get the good grass, the big tall
Yeah,
grass.
that flat across there,
Yeah.
it's still there,
Yeah.
sort of, yeah.
So somebody told me that part of the notion of putting the barn here by the creek was when high tide would come in, then they just scoop the manure out and let the creek take it out to sea. Was that?
Well, yeah, they had a trestle out there and the wheelbarrows ran on the trestle, and if the tide come up and surrounded the manure pile, they didn't care. Nobody thought about anything like that then. It'd be against the law now.
Right. Do you remember where they got the hay from? When all the hay?
Yeah, the hay all came from the valley.
Okay.
Mhm.
Huh.
Probably the Tualatin Valley. People didn't haul hay for thousands of miles then like they do now.
Do you remember if did you ride the horses down here for the summer times, or were they like on? Did they ever come on the train, or did they
No, they trucked them down.
truck them? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, but what about where you lived here then? In the days before cars, did they just have horses down here?
Well, people didn't, there weren't cars because people couldn't afford them. They were available by that time.
Yeah.
But there was very few cars around. The average family didn't own one. They couldn't afford it in the Depression.
Do you remember how much it cost to ride the train? Did you guys?
Yeah, round trip from Portland to Seaside, I think, was $3.50.
How long did it take?
It took about 4 hours from Portland down through. The train would leave at 8 o'clock, 8:30 maybe, in Portland, and get to Seaside at 12:30. Gearhart about 12:20.
Did it change a lot from winter full-time people to summertime people like it does still today?
Oh, yeah. Well, in those days there was very few winter people.
Okay.
Just a handful in Gearhart here and small amount in Seaside. Yeah, but in the summertime it was thousands would come down.
Wow.
Who were your good friends around town?
Well, there was a few families that had kids my age.
Yeah.
None of them are here now.
Yeah.
Smith family and Peterson family, and that they're all gone. They moved away or something.
Yeah. So if you had to tell people like one thing that you think is the most special about Gearhart, what do you think it would be?
Special event in Gearhart?
No, what's special about Gearhart? The quiet, or like the beach and having all the kind of nice peace and quiet, or the fact you got a beachfront and
Well,
nice and
yeah.
small
I don't
town?
know. I like it because it's most of the time it's not congested, full of traffic, and too awful many people. Well, all the other towns around here, they show too many signs of modern living.
So for anybody helping to maybe donate something to save the barn, what would you let them know? So for the Kickstarter, for example, Bob, people give small donations to help save the barn, and all that money gets collected then. So that'll be one thing we'll put on the website is, reasons.
Well, it'd be nice if there's a grassroots thing
Yeah,
or a little small amounts from everybody.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
So, that is something where everybody can help a little bit, and then it can get preserved and be here for the next 120 years, so.
Well, they're going to have to figure out a way to preserve this building and make it a historical building, not a modern building.
Yep.
It's modern enough right now. It doesn't need any more of that, I think.
Well, it's good to keep historic places like this. We forget, and all the things get redone, and there are very few places that last this long,
That's right.
and
This is probably one of the oldest buildings. I guess it is the oldest building in town. My house was built in 1908, so it's close. But I think this was built before then.
Yeah, they say 1890
Hmm.
is what.
1890, they
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Okay. I guess the county records would show when it was built. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Should.
good. Anything else you want to add, or?
No, I guess not.
Well, when you go around town and Pearl sits with you in your cart, has she always done that, or has that been a new thing? Did
Well,
your other
Pearl's
dogs?
done that ever since she was a baby.
Oh,
She started in when she was this big, riding with me, and always has. She's always first one in the buggy.
is she?
Yeah.
And I hear you're a big Oregon Beaver fan.
Yeah, a big old disappointed Beaver fan, I'll tell you.
I know.
After last week.
Yeah.
Well, they beat my Wisconsin Badgers last year, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, they have strokes of genius once in a while, but too many lapses. This year it's terrible.
Yeah.
They start off playing easy ones, and then when they get into the end of the season and the tougher games, they just don't seem to have it.
Yeah.
So I'll have to switch and be a Duck, I guess, for a while.
Don't tell. Don't tell.
We'll see. The Ducks got Stanford this coming week, and
That'll be.
what happens there will determine the whole season for me.
So I hear you have a birthday coming up.
Yep, next week.
Woo!
Well, a week from this Tuesday.
Okay. What do you want to do to celebrate?
I don't know. Somebody will probably have a party for me or something.
So what's your favorite things to do these days? I know you go to work every day at Laurelwood Farms.
Yeah, I do. Well, I like that, and I like to drive my animals on Sunday, and I used to like to travel a lot, but I can't seem to do that anymore.
Well, you went to Pendleton this summer, didn't you?
No.
You went to, where'd you go? You went someplace. Didn't you go down south?
No, I didn't go anywhere
Didn't
this
go
summer.
anywhere? Okay, well, I gotta get you out. Yeah.
I went to Pendleton a couple of years ago when my granddaughter was riding in the rodeo,
That's right.
and that was the last time I've been up that way.
Okay. Oh, I know. What's it like riding in the parade every year with the horse? With
This
yeah,
parade?
Our parade. At
Oh,
4th of
that's-
July parade.
It's something I do every year.
Yeah.
My son, he usually has team too.
Has it gotten bigger and bigger over the years?
The what?
Has the parade gotten bigger and bigger over the years?
Well, I think it's been stable lately, although there's an awful lot of people, spectators, and they all join into it, and it's pretty unmanageable, really.
Do you think
I'm
the
always
whole-
afraid the kid's going to run under the horse or something, you know,
Right.
because they throw candy out on the ground, it goes under the horse, and the kid's diving after it. But
Oh my gosh.
our animals are so good that they don't seem to mind that, and doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah. They're not scared by any fireworks or anything?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I don't know if somebody put a big firecracker right under them, they might. But we had one of those jet flyovers, and that was really noisy and scary.
Yeah.
It flew over McKenzie, but he didn't pay any attention to it. So
Good. Well, anything else you want to add? You know any good jokes?
no, I don't know.
Me neither. I'm bad at jokes.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, and that's, we're good at telling stories, though.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
Think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you like being a merchant marine? Was that kind of interesting? Not that anyone likes to go to war.
Well, I don't like the war
Right.
part. It was interesting, yeah, although I didn't like it because I wanted to be home, and I went from, I was punching cattle up in Wyoming the year before that, and when I got out of high school, and and it was freezing cold up there, and the wind was blowing and the snow flying, and the next year I was in the South Pacific, and it was 120 degrees in the engine room, you know, and quite a contrast. But I think that I'm not sorry that I was in the Merchant Marine. It was a good experience. And
After the war, did you ever go back or do anything more on ships?
No, I was, I got sick out there in Okinawa. I got an ulcer in my stomach, and I lived through a couple weeks out there, I guess, on canned milk and water, and then I came back to the States, and after that I was on sick leave, and I didn't go back anymore. And then the war was over anyway in a few months after that.
Boy, quite a different time, huh?
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you, Bob, for helping and, for encouraging people to be kind to the barn and.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, I
thank
know.
you.
When you were saying the horses, they did lessons to music. What was the music? Did the music help with the tempo, or was it?
Well, all those riding schools, they always, in their arenas, always played martial music when they were riding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So kind of, you mean like band music or like marching?
Well, it was like, I don't know, band music, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to keep the rhythm going?
Well, it just kind of inspires you to do well, I guess. Anyway, they always did that. It was a tradition. They still do that, and horse shows usually have a band. Yeah.
I just hadn't thought of that, so.
Are you ready to go?
She'll go anywhere you go, Bob.
Yeah.
She seems pretty stuck by her foot.
Yeah. Well, good. I'll send you home with some apple and some pumpkin dip. How about that
Okay.
for later? And some dog treats.
Yeah. And this went really well. It's all very interesting stuff.
He's from Wisconsin, so.
He's a badger.
I know.
Yeah, that's the one Oregon State played them last year, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they won that time. See, they play a tough team and win, and then they play all these easy ones first, and then they can't beat anybody.
Yep. That was my first year living in Oregon, so I got to wear all my Wisconsin Badgers gear out in the States, but I didn't get beat up. So.
Well, they played Wisconsin back there the year before, and Wisconsin won, didn't they? I'm sure they did.
Last year Wisconsin won. I don't keep track too much. Only when Wisconsin's doing good, then I pay attention.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, excellent.
Well, are we all through?
You're all through.
Okay.
You got the spotlight. Yes, cutie pie.
Should we go home, Pearl, and chop some wood? Huh?
I'm gonna come help you stack.
Not today, I won't.
Okay.
Well, I gotta be at Suzanne Elise at 4.
tonight.
What time is it?
It's with the time change. It's 2:30.
2:30.
You got an hour and a half.
Standard time.
Yeah, that's the new time.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go over there and chop some wood and put it up on the porch there
Okay,
and do
all right.
that.
Okay. Well, I'll come another day and help you get it inside.
All right,
then.
we'll put it inside.
Yeah, because I'm good at that.
Okay.
Do you use the wheelbarrow too?
No, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Or I got an electric cart,
Oh, that's
like a
right.
wheelbarrow that's powered.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I use.
Okay. Well, let me go get you
With
some.
my bum hip, why the wheelbarrow's the worst thing you can use.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Lifting and pushing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do that part. How about that?
Okay.
All right. I'll get you some apple to take home.
All right.
Do you want
Well,
some?
give me that apple there.
Do you want me to cut it up though, or you cut it up when you get home?
I can cut it when I get home.
All right. You want this one too?
Well, no, you want
I'll
one.
keep that one.
You
Okay.
keep one.
I'll bring
I
you.
don't want to rob you.
Okay. I'll bring you a little thing though of the dip.
Okay.
Do you want some to take home too, Tyler?
I think I'm good.
You're okay.
Thank you.
Here, Pearl gets another
Thank you,
treat
Bob.
though.
You bet.
was-
Thank you,
That
Tyler.
was very good.
I don't know how good it was, but anyway, we got through it, huh?
Oh yeah. It was great. Hope you had a good time.
Quite an outfit you got here.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, I'll be right back out with the dips to go, Bob.
Okay.
You're a beggar girl. You're a beggar.
You know, getting involved with doing video stuff sure lets me build up a lot of stuff to carry around.
Yeah.